Gallbladder 12 is found just a few fen anterior and inferior to the extra point peaceful sleep.
Sanjiao 2 between the 4th and 5th fingers, half a cun within the web margin. So bring the 2 fingers away from each other, feel for the flare of the bone of the 4th, and come out into the margin between those 2 bones. Sanjiao 4, which is on the dorsum of the wrist, in between 2 tendons, extensor digitorum communis and extensor digiti minimi. I'm popping my point in.
Sanjiao points on the forearm are best located with the arm laying flat on the bed and the elbow turned outwards. To find Sanjiao 5, come 2 cun proximal to Sanjiao 4, in between the radius and the ulna. You should be on the radial side of the tendon of extensor digitorum communis. If the person wiggles their fingers, this tendon will come into relief.
Sanjiao 10 is located 1 cun superior to the tip of the olecranon process of the elbow. The point is found with the arm flexed and the hand supinated.
Large intestine 10 is located 10 cun proximal to large intestine 5 on a line heading towards large intestine 11. Palpate along that line and fall into a nice groove in the muscle at 10 cun. Pericardium 9 is found at the very tip of the middle finger. An alternative location is the radial nail point of the same finger. Be sure to mark this point clear of the nail bed. Pericardium 8 is found on the palmar aspect of the hand in this nice dip which is proximal to the junction of the heads of the 2nd and 3rd metacarpals. The point is just a little closer to the head of the 3rd metacarpal.
Pericardium 7 is on the flexor aspect of the wrist. It's level with heart 7 and between 2 tendons, palmaris longus and flexor carpal radialis. Some people don't have this palmaris longus tendon, in which case you'd just be going ulnar to this flexor carpal radialis. So finding heart 7, articulate the wrist, coming between those 2 tendons, that if you can't see them, you can get the person to join their thumb and their little finger together, and that will highlight those 2 tendons. And just relax again. Pericardium 6 is on the flexor aspect of the forearm. It's 2 cun proximal from pericardium 7, and it's in between the 2 tendons palmaris longus and flexor carpal radialis. Pericardium 3 is on the transverse cubital crease, immediately ulnar to the aponeurosis of biceps brachii. Lung 11 is at the radial nail point of the thumb. So in order to find that point, I'm going to look at where the proximal and radial borders of the nail meet. I'm going to look at the nail bed, feel for where the flare of the bone is, and put my point in.
To find lung 10, find the midpoint of the shaft of the first metacarpal and go in between that point and the muscle of the thenar eminence. Lung 9 is located on the lateral aspect of the wrist flexure, in between the radius, the scaphoid, which is one of the carpal bones, the radial artery, and the tendon of abductor pollicis longus, which is this big tendon that can pull the thumb out. So find the dip between all those three landmarks and the radial artery and mark your point there. Lung 6 is located 7 cm proximal on a line from lung 9 to lung 5. Lung 5 is located on the transverse cubital crease in a depression which is just radial to the aponeurosis of biceps brachii. This point has a nice, soft, swampy feel to it. Be careful to not go too radial and to fall onto the tendon of brachioradialis.
Heart 3 is at the medial aspect of the elbow, midway between the medial epicondyle of the humerus and pericardium 3. So coming midway between those 2 points at the medial aspect of the transverse cubital crease.
Spleen 2 is located in a depression which is distal and inferior to the first metatarsophalangeal joint. See the knuckle of the big toe, come distal and inferior and tuck your point into the flesh at the flare of the base of the proximal phalange. Kidney 3 is located in the medial aspect of the ankle. It's on a level with the prominence of the medial malleolus in between the posterior border of the malleolus and the anterior border of the Achilles tendon, the tendocalcaneus. Palpate for the deepest dip and mark your kidney 3 there. Stomach 44 is located half a cun proximal to the web margin between the second and third toes. This point should fit nicely into the flare of the base of the proximal phalange of the second toe. Stomach 36 is located approximately 13 cun superior to the prominence of the lateral malleolus on the anterior border of tibialis anterior. The easiest way to find it is to palpate down the tibial tuberosity. Find the base of the tibial tuberosity and move slightly laterally until you fall into a nice dip on the anterior border of tibialis anterior. This point is also 3 cun inferior to the inferior border of the patella. Gallbladder 42 is located on the dorsum of the foot in a depression proximal to the junction of the heads of the 4th and the 5th metatarsals. If you articulate the metatarsals, you can easily palpate the groove in between the two bones. This point should be located medial to the tendon of extensor digitorum longus, little toe branch. To show this branch of the tendon, pull the little toe out. It's normally quite visible.